Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. This webinar will be focused on ProjectHQ, our standalone project management software, and it will have a focus on the QuickBooks integration. Just give a little bit more time for anybody else that is not in to join in. So we'll just give it a couple more minutes. This webinar typically will take about 20-ish minutes, and we'll leave some time at the end for questions as well. I do like to just kind of throw out there as well at the beginning, the QuickBooks integration that we do offer with ProjectHQ is specific to QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Premier Desktop. So if you are using QuickBooks Online, unfortunately at this time, the integration doesn't work with QuickBooks Online, just as a heads up, okay guys? So like I said, give it a couple minutes here and then we'll get started. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And we are gonna just jump right into ProjectHQ. And like I said, if you have questions as we go through, go ahead and throw them in the chat and then I'll touch base on the questions at the end of the session. So right here, I'm gonna go ahead and start us off in ProjectHQ right here on our landing screen in the home menu. On the home menu, it's just gonna be a quick just shot of everything that you guys have in ProjectHQ, recent projects that you've been in, overdue documents, a screenshot of project schedules, action items, and a little weather screenshot down here as well. Over here on the left-hand side, you're going to have our toolbar. On the toolbar, we're going to have our projects, which is going to be our ProjectHQ. We're going to have our scheduling piece, which is going to be our CrewHQ or our labor dispatch and resource management. A list of all contacts, a reporting area, a time card feature, and then also in this a setup as well. So within the setup, you can get into the setup and go into the users and permissions and set up all of your users in the system and create custom permission groups. So if you need to limit access to particular employees or project managers and give them access to certain parts of the system, you can do that in here. And then some other things that you can do in the setup is set up the integration. So this is where you would actually link in QuickBooks, the QuickBooks desktop to ProjectHQ so information can flow back and forth. You'll see that the setup options in here are all the maintenance items. So it can push in cost codes, employees, vendors and customers and jobs, and you can create those project customers and vendors in ProjectHQ or QuickBooks and have them flow whichever direction. When that does get set up, how the integration does work is within QuickBooks. When you go into your file and go down to app management and update web services here, there is a web connector that links the two systems together. In this web connector, you can have it auto set to run every so often, so you don't have to actually actively come in here and update this manually. You can have it set to auto run. I have mine on 30 minutes. Some people will do it shorter or longer, depending. To jump back over to ProjectHQ here, some of the other setup options that we'll have is going in and changing how people enter, items for change orders, RFCs, RFIs, submittals, purchase orders, subcontracts. I'm going to use the change order as an example here. Within the change order, you can come in and you can update statuses, when they hit drop down menus, says what, statuses are they going to see, what change reasons, what fields are going to be required, which ones aren't going to be required. And then you can also add custom fields as well, and you can customize all of the templates in here as well. So the templates can be customized. We do have certain default templates, but you can come in here and copy those, or just import a template from scratch as well. So all of the templates can be, our reports can be customized. To jump back up, I'm going to jump us back up in here to our scheduling tab. Here in the scheduling tab, this is going to be, like I said, what we call our QuickBooks HQ. The QuickBooks HQ, you can view your schedule or all your tasks by quarter, month, week, days, 3 days, and you can also set custom views. I'm going to jump our quarter back here a little bit. It's got a little bit more data in this one. And you can see how we have this chart of all of our tasks, what jobs they're assigned to, what days they're falling under, so on and so forth. You can sort this by project, equipment, employees, or contacts. So you can do this on an employee view to see which employees you have scheduled to which jobs. You can do it on an equipment view, so you see all your equipment and what tasks they're assigned to as well. Or you can view it by job, which is what I usually would typically see as the most popular option. When I click onto a task, I can open that task up, and I'm just going to create, open one up and take a look at this. When I look at my general tab, this is where I'm going to be putting in my general information, project, description. You can color coordinate these, throw icons on them, start and end dates, percentage completes. You can create tags and categories for reporting purposes. When I jump over to the location, this is where I can put my job location on. And this is where the next tab on the resources is where I can actually start assigning employees, contacts, crew, equipment onto this specific task. When you assign employees, it can send out an email or text notification to those employees, so it actually dispatches them and keeps track of those as well. You can add custom fields in here if you guys need custom fields on tasks. And you can create budget impact on here as well, where you can assign that to a cost code and give it a cost type and add budget impact as well. As these are updated as you go on, those notifications do get pushed out to employees. If you double schedule an employee, it will throw a warning message to you as well and say, hey, he can't be 2 places at once. You have assigned for the same time or same date 2 different tasks or 2 different projects or something of that nature. So it does give you a warning there. And like I said, as a reminder too, this is going to link in, the ProjectHQ system will link in with QuickBooks Desktop, Premier Desktop, and not the QuickBooks Online. One other feature in here is you can do unscheduled tasks as well. So you can create tasks in the system and have them linked on your unscheduled tasks area, and then just simply drag and then drop those items over. So I'm just going to do a quick add one here, and let's just say I give this plans and permits, and I'm going to attach this to this Cleveland Zoo job here, and I can assign one employee and one equipment. Because this is a quick add, I'm going to go ahead and just bypass that, and it will actually just create that task over here, and then you can close this and have them sit over there. And then as the job goes on, you can go to your unscheduled tasks, and then you can basically drag and drop that where you'll need it. And then you can drag it out to the amount of days, and you can further fill that out. So now I can click down onto that task, attach employees, equipment, materials, so on and so forth, and fill the rest of it out. To jump up to our project, so I'm going to skip over to our projects area, which is going to be the bulk area of our ProjectHQ. I'm going to go ahead and just click on one of these test jobs up here, and go ahead and start walking through what we can do here in ProjectHQ. So when you get onto the landing page of the project area of ProjectHQ, the first thing that you're going to see is an overview and then a QuickBooks section. When we click over to QuickBooks, you are going to get some job cost reporting information from QuickBooks. This is going to be a part of that web connector when you guys enter labor job costs, invoices, bills, so on and so forth in QuickBooks. That information does get dragged out of QuickBooks and pushes forward to report into ProjectHQ. You can see a breakdown by budget. You can see a breakdown of change orders here, an estimate versus actual, a breakdown of actual cost by code, and it's going to give you that breakdown of estimate and actual on the contract end, the estimated end of the cost, a percentage complete, and an over/under billing figure as well. So that's the first section here where the QuickBooks integrations come over. You can do any daily log entries for equipment, labor, manpower, so on and so forth. So if I wanted to click into, let's just say, equipment, and I'm going to say, okay, we use this equipment for 8 hours. I can put meter mileage on there. I can put an operator. I can put any notes and simply save that, and then that will add that to your equipment log. So if I come back over here to dashboard, it'll now have an equipment log in here, and that's the same for any of these other logs that you have as well. I'll get a screenshot here of my project schedule coming from the scheduling area. If we're using the QuickBooks HQ, we have a breakdown of any mail that's been recently viewed or sent through, so anything coming through email. Overdue documents, so I can see anything that's overdue, anything that is upcoming, or any recent documents that I've viewed, purchase orders, RFIs, RFCs, submittals, change orders, so on and so forth. Any action items that I'm either attached to, or you're attached to, or anything that you've attached or assigned to someone else. And you can run through those. And then you can also view the teams as well down here. To work our way down this dashboard, the next option here is the detail area. This is just for you to put any details on the job, address, statuses, what stage of the job we're in, the value, what kind of, type of job, region, phone number, things of that nature. So just to keep general information on the project. If I click down on here to resources, this will drag me back into the QuickBooks HQ, the scheduling piece. So we're going to skip past that since we've already seen it. And I'm going to work down here into our work management. On here, we can track action items, and I can keep track of those action items. I can create them, and I can assign them to others. I can come in here and mark them as completed. I can duplicate them and assign, duplicate to someone else, and just way to keep track of any items that need to be, finished and done before maybe a job gets done or as the job is ongoing. If you have AIAs or have AIA billings, you can do those AIA billings through ProjectHQ. So you can put in all of your generalized information for your G702 or 703 form. And all that header information would get added here. And also retainage, you keep track of retainage, and you can create custom retainage rules. So if you have, typically what I'll see is a project go from like maybe at the beginning of the project, it's 10%, and then towards the end of the project, or maybe halfway through the project, that gets halved and it goes to 5%. You can keep track of that here and actually create those custom retainage rules. Once you have all your generalized information, you can bring in your schedule of values. This can get pulled from your estimate, but it can also be entered into the system without the estimate as well if you have line items that don't necessarily coincide with a cost code. And add all your schedule of values in, and then you can come down here to the applications and actually do each one of your applications. So we can put in all of our percentage completes, do all of our AIA worksheet information, and then what we can do from here is add a new application and do ongoing invoices as we go. Then that will spit out an AIA worksheet for you that you can get in our reporting section. So you can print this out, email straight through the system, or through your email, your email app as well. So this is how you can get those AIAs. And then what the QuickBooks integration is going to do is it'll push an accounts receivable invoice to QuickBooks so that you can keep track of that and not have to do double entry. So if you're doing your AIAs on Excel, and you're like, hey, now we have this on Excel and we're pulling information from QuickBooks to fill out our percentage completes, and then we fill that out and then we take that back and we're entering it back into QuickBooks for invoicing purposes. This would take care of all of that. That would push an invoice over to QuickBooks for you from ProjectHQ. We'll have another area to do our daily logs similar to the overview area, but it's kind of more vertical here. And then this is, like I said, this is where you can do any kind of daily log entries in the system that would be needed. Keep track of any documents. So we got your standard RFIs and submittals, and then you can create any user-defined documents as well. In the system, you can create the RFIs. So let me just go ahead and open up one that we have here. You can email these through the system. So you can email this through ProjectHQ, or you can email from your own email app. Completely up to you, whatever you guys prefer there. And then you can go in, and I'll just show you guys the entry here a little bit of what this typical entry would look like. And like I showed you earlier with the change order areas, we can change which fields are required, which drop-down menus, what values they have in there for them to enter with, correspondence information, and then we can even put budget impact down here as well, and fill everything out. We can add custom fields, and then we can also attach files as well, and save and send that straight through the system. Last thing here on the work management, we have the punch list. So here on the punch list, we can create these custom checklists of things that might need to be done, attach those onto other users in the system, and keep track of whether or not those items are getting punched off or not. We can copy these from project to project, so that we can maybe have certain pre-construction checklists or other things of that nature that might be the same for every single project that you guys do, and we can copy those and duplicate them onto other projects. On the cost management area here, once we get past work management, this is where we're going to manage anything that has to do with your guys' cost. So this is going to be where we can see our budget, we can see our change orders, we can see our purchase orders and subcontract agreements, and then there's also a little labor budget report down here. So we can view our budget in the system and our budget information. So this is another place that we can look at that budget other than seeing it in the QuickBooks reporting area. I can then come into change management. So the change management area is where I can manage all my RFCs and my change orders. I can enter my RFCs into the system, and then I can convert any open RFCs to change orders once they've been approved, and send out the change orders in the system. And then an example of what one of our change orders would look like would be here. So in our reporting section, you guys can go into the change order area and you can pull those change order forms. Again, these templates can be customized to your guys' needing. Any legal verbiage that might be needed can be added into the system as well. Keep track of our totals of RFCs on the project, and change orders by status as well, and amounts here in the reporting area as well. And same thing in the committed cost. So this is where we can do purchase order entry and subcontract entry as well. And then just an example of one of our purchase orders here would be there. So I can enter a purchase order into the system. This is the printable that I can get, just to show you a little bit of the entry of purchase orders, which is very similar to some of the other entry points that I've already showed you. I can open this up. I can add all of my purchase order details on here. I can create my line items down at the bottom, and then I can even attach those line items and create them, and I can make budget impact as well, so I can keep track of what it would be and attach those to a cost code for reporting purposes. The labor budget report is going to be tied in with the time card area. If you are one of Foundation's P4C clients, this won't necessarily work for you guys specifically. If you're a non-Foundation P4C client, then the labor budget report and the time card area would be of use to you guys. Just two separate areas. The time cards, in ProjectHQ flow to QuickBooks. If you're doing payroll through Foundation's P4C area, that would be through, the payroll's being done in a separate software. So that wouldn't flow back over to this. Like I said, today is really specifically looking at the QuickBooks integration and specifically what's flowing back and forth to QuickBooks. Another thing is, change orders and purchase orders. Those do flow back and forth as well. So you can keep track of those. Collaboration-wise, I can see my mailbox and the emails that have come back and forth and keep track of those in the system. If you email directly out of ProjectHQ, it will, keep track of those in here. Any response, if they respond, it'll flow back in here as well. If you email from your own email app, you can CC the ProjectHQ email so that any correspondence back and forth will be tracked in here as well. And then you can also forward any emails that you may get back into the system, so you can keep track of all those emails here and have a place to store them. And then file management, we can do file management as well in here, Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive, keep track of all of your files. And then also we have our own file store, hosting service as well. So you can just, if you prefer to use Foundations, you can use that, or if you like one of those third parties, we can integrate with those as well. Just to show off the time card feature here is kind of our last area. Again, like I said, this time card feature is more for QuickBooks, people that are doing QuickBooks payroll, not necessarily using the P4C payroll. And we have options for, payroll, not necessarily using ProjectHQ for P4C clients, just, so everyone's aware. We can do time card entry, we can do single time cards, or group time cards here. We can have an employee entering their time, or a supervisor entering an employee's time for a group. Those will go to review, and then we can set up approvals. So a supervisor or project manager has to approve the time cards before that we can export those in the system as well. We can export either to CSV or to a straight to QuickBooks here on the export. And then the last option we have here, besides just a single time card entry, where we're doing time cards, is we can also do a simple punch in, where we can just have the employee come in, they punch in, it tracks them as they're punched in, and then they clock out. And then the supervisor would come behind them and add all of the details for that. So then what the supervisor would be doing is coming in here, opening up the time cards and adding all of the details like the project, the earn code, cost code, so on and so forth. So you can have them do that, as well as a normal clock in where the employee's adding all those details. So there's a couple different options for time card entry here, and a couple different areas that we can export the time out of ProjectHQ as well. That is a quick rundown. What I like to circle back into at the end is back into our dashboard here. On the dashboard, we also have a QuickBooks reporting tab here as well that will show you just a quick snapshot. It's not as detailed as obviously the projects, but it'll give you a list of all your projects down at the bottom, contract versus estimates, and your percentage complete and over-unders, as well as some graphs up here at the very top. So that is, ProjectHQ and the CrewHQ piece. Those can be, you can purchase ProjectHQ and not CrewHQ. It's not like a combined deal, so you can, do one or the other. If you guys don't need the scheduling, just know that you don't have to grab both of them. And I'm just going to go ahead and leave the rest of the time open for any questions that anyone has, and go from there. So I'll give you guys some time to, throw any questions in the chat that you may have. And also on the screen here, I have my contact information. So here's my email. And if you wanted to get in touch via phone, you can do that as well. If anyone would like a more personalized rundown of ProjectHQ, I know I kept it kind of general. I can set up follow-up demos where we can go into more specifically what you guys need and what you'll see there. So you guys can get in touch with me and I can set up a personal demo to go through it. Question here in the chat, does ProjectHQ have a certified payroll function? It does not. It's really just, the time function in there is just a time card that pushes to either QuickBooks or it can go to a third-party payroll provider via CSV, but it does not have any certified payroll functionality. Just the time card, and if the time cards on there as well, the users would be unlimited for time card purposes as well. For anybody else that would want to log in. Like I said, if anybody wants a personalized demo, go ahead and throw your name in the chat and just say, hey, can you follow up with me to schedule another demo? There is no limit necessarily on like the amount of projects that you guys can have in the system and then schedule against as well. Obviously, certain number of them, the screen, you might need to scroll down. So there's like a certain size on the scheduling tab here that you guys might, have, but there is no limit on the projects. But like I said, once you add so many, this tab, we might need to drag this out or like the sizing of it and scroll through them, but there is no limit on the amount of projects and tasks that you can have in a particular day. ProjectHQ does not interact with QuickBooks T-sheets. So that would you can use instead of using T-sheets, you can use ProjectHQ as the time card functionality to push to QuickBooks and do the payroll there, but it wouldn't interact with T-sheets, unfortunately. It's kind of, both of them are basically timekeeping, areas. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it off there. If anybody does have any questions that arise, after the fact, or you think of anything, again, my email's down here, dkilpatrick at foundationsoft.com. You could shoot me an email at any time, and I'll follow up with everybody that was in here. So you guys have my contact information there as well. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.